get to it. Hi, May. How you doing today?
I am good.
Good to hear. Super happy to have you here and be a part of this podcast. I know you've been watching it. I really appreciate the support.
Of course.
And it was just time for you to actually come on board and kind of share your story as well. That's
Gotcha.
good with you.
It's the last and final episode.
No, not at all.
Gotcha.
But Maegan Young, right?
Yes.
Currently an executive for a financial firm.
Yes.
And you've been in the finance industry for the past, what?
7-ish years.
Seven-ish going into 8 years almost?
Uh-huh.
Cool. And prior to that, just what were you doing?
Honestly, I was going through college and just working the retail job and not really kind of thinking of a future for myself. In the South, we have a thing. You just get barefoot and pregnant.
Which, by the way, you are from the South.
Yes, so, Tennessee.
Yeah,
born and raised. So born and raised, one of 3 kids. Grew up in a town called Finger, Tennessee. So pretty small. I mean, I love my hometown, don't get me wrong, but it's not the best place to be voted like most likely to succeed.
I understand.
That means you're driving a combine somewhere. You don't even know what a combine is. Okay.
I don't.
Gotcha.
But pretty cool. I mean, so you originally came from Tennessee, and how long ago did you move out here to California?
I moved out here my senior year of college, so 2010.
Okay.
And I graduated from San Diego State. Go cool. Aztecs.
Yeah. Oh, they almost made it to the. I know. Well, I mean, they made it to the final. They just didn't win the championship. But
that's okay. It's still a good accomplishment.
First time in school history, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I only know the last 13 years of school history, so at least in the last 13 years. And if that's wrong, fact check it.
No, I think it is the first time in school history that they ever make it to the finals. I think even to the 8, the Elite 8.
Uh-huh.
I think is the
and
first.
And then the Final Four.
And then the Final Four, and then I may be wrong about that, but for sure the final is the first time they've made it.
I know more about Ole Miss history. I stayed there longer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
But so cool. So I mean, really, just share your story. The whole point of this, honestly, is just for you to kind of share your story. If there's something that you faced, along, kind of moving up the corporate ladder and doing all those things that you think might benefit or help the listeners, that's kind of what I'm really trying to get at. Anything that you want to share, of course, but just kind of make it your own. So, like, if you want to start, especially with the firm, like working in finance, how has that been for you?
Honestly, I never thought I would be in finance. Like, if you asked me if I would ever be investing, I would tell you you're out of your mind. I think I was in shock when I got the job. One of your previous guests, Jeff McIver, actually gave me my shot at this. So
same with me. Jeff gave me the same shot.
And it's funny, in his episode, he was saying, when I got hired, he said 2 things, like one negative and one positive thing. Jeff did the same thing to me. He's like, okay, so I got good news and bad news. Bad news is every other candidate I interviewed is way more qualified than you. And I was like, okay, what's the good news? And he's like, good news is I'm giving you the job. And I remember exactly what office we were sitting in, what he was wearing, what I was wearing. Like, it was just such a big moment for me.
Yeah.
Because I always thought I was always just going to be stuck in some sort of like admin role or support role or secretarial kind of role, because I am a female. And most, the demographic of the financial industry right now is like, mid-50 white man. And I do not fit that quota at all. So given that chance, it's like I just wanted to show him, throw me off the deep end and I'm going to swim for you. And if COVID had not happened, I would have been pinnacle, which just means like top of the top, cream of the crop, top 10% my first year in. But COVID happened and I had to work from home. Which, you did that too.
Yeah.
And that was a struggle. And no one was investing and it was just a struggle that way. And they took Pinnacle away. So, but I shared this with you a little earlier. I have this just rule for myself so I don't get complacent or stagnant. It's my 2-year rule. So if I don't have this role mastered by 2 years, then I'm doing something wrong and I need to look at myself and be like, okay, why have you not mastered it? Or it's time for your next challenge. So I've only been with the firm for going on like 8 years, but I've held 5 different positions. So I'm ahead of schedule, and I had a baby in that time, so I'm really proud of myself. I did come home from maternity leave early, but I was just at that point that I wanted to get out there and have my next chance. I love to learn and I love to just keep going. So
I love that part because, not a lot of people have that mentality of like thinking ahead. It's kind of one of those things I think you develop a habit, which is great if you've already found that, because being 2 years in a row, you could think of it as a short period of time, or you can think of it as that one challenge, like you just said, you want to master it within that specific 2 years so that you can move on and be ready for the next, step in your career, right?
So I feel like 2 years is so long.
It could be, but if you look at it in the long term of things,
right,
usually people will ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?
Yep.
They never ask, where do you see yourself?
Classic interview question.
Right? Yeah, but they never ask you like, where are you seeing yourself in the next 2 years? Because 2 years is like such a, I guess, even though it's an even number, it's such an odd number, right?
Well, you were a manager too, like it's a 90-day plan you have to have. Like you have
Correct.
to turn your market around in 90 days. So for me, a market is a lot of you're driving a cruise ship, right?
Yes.
You have 100 people you have to manage. In my case, I had 35, still do. But if I'm just navigating myself, I'm driving a jet ski. I can turn that thing quicker. I can do more moves. So I feel like if I'm supposed to move a market in 90 days, I can move myself in 2 years.
That's beautiful, yeah.
For sure.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's such a cool thing to have. I think personally for you that you have that goal within that 2 year range.
Yes.
Yes, it's pretty neat. I've never thought about it that way, but when you were telling me about it earlier, I was like, that's actually pretty cool.
I just feel I'll be burnout in 2 years. If I hate it, I'm going to be burnout. And then what kind of associate, mom, friend, daughter, sister, am I going to be? So it's like, okay, 18 to 24 months, that's when I start getting a little itchy. And I'm like, okay, it's time to learn something new
transition.
Or be the best of the best. And okay, you're ready for something new.
Yeah.
So
I know that, and the only reason I bring, I think it's so neat is for me personally, I think I shared this with Jeff when he was here in the podcast. It's, I went from branch manager to being a financial advisor, and that transition, it was great. I did great right away. I was doing okay, throughout the time period that I held the position, but towards the end of it, because I held it for 3 years.
Okay.
After that, after that second year, a year and a half, I started getting bored with that position again. It got very repetitive.
I remember.
Yeah. And I've gone through that process so many times. And so my escape has been either changing lateral roles to another, at the time was changing in a lateral way to a different financial institution.
Okay.
Or moving to a different branch.
Gotcha.
Or doing something along those ways to kind of give me that change. But it was, again,
you didn't want to go up. You
correct.
Just wanted to get out.
But that's what I'm talking about. I stayed laterally.
I gotcha.
I would either move laterally or, just give me something different. And in reality, right, if I really, I guess the right mentality should have been, well, if you're going to do something, you're going to have a change, might as well make that change to take the next step forward, right?
Yeah.
Which I think it's really admirable that you have that for you and that you have that mapped out that way, because that no matter what, you're going to continue moving forward instead of moving sideways.
Yeah. And I think you said something there and it reminded me, my daddy always told me, he was like, if you're going to do it right, do it yourself. If you want it done the first time, you got to do it yourself. So that drives me a lot. And I have always been that person that people look at me and they hear my accent or they're like, oh, you're a girl or whatever, you're from the South, I automatically get dismissed. And so when someone challenges me or tells me oh, you can't do that, I'm like, watch me. And I will do it better than you ever have. And I will show you how it's done. And then you can come to me for a favor and I'm still going to give you that favor because that's just the person I am. But I remember in middle school, I had the flu and it was our championship week for basketball. And everybody's like, you can't play, Maegan, you're sick. And I'm like, I'm not letting my team down. And we won. I got MVP. It's just when people tell me I can't do something, that lights the fire under me.
Yeah.
So when I tell myself you can't do this in 2 years, I'm like, okay, well then I want to prove to myself that I can.
Yeah.
And I want Grayson to look back one day and be like, oh, my mommy did that. And that's what pushes me.
And I think it's I think it's great that you have that mentality, that drive, that motivation, because that's what people lack sometimes is that motivation. And for you, it's your son just trying to show him what you've accomplished along the way, right? Especially as he grows up, he's going to start noticing more of those things. So it's really cool that you can share that success with him.
I hope so. I hope he appreciates it.
I know, absolutely. I'm sure he will.
Hope so.
Can we Can we backtrack a little bit though?
Yeah.
I think you mentioned something in regards a couple of times already about, being a female specifically in the financial world.
Yes.
How hard or tough has it been? Because again, 5 roles moving forward in 7 years. I mean, yes, you're beating your record because you're talking about you're almost holding him for maybe a year and a half, maybe less.
It's usually about 18 months. Yeah.
So moving forward, like, in that sense, for your career,
Yeah.
and having that extra challenge, because inequality in the workplace is just, it's a major factor, especially in the financial world. Having to try and, overcome that hurdle. How hard has it been for you, or how have you managed to be able to be so successful at overcoming it? Because I'm sure it's not just not happened to you. It's just,
No.
I'm sure it's happened, but you've found and managed a way to just make sure you kind of go through that.
I don't want to say it was easy, but I think what I was talking about, my drive behind, my why behind, has just pushed me harder. But yes, there's been many times where I applied for a position and then someone that made a lateral move from another bank came in and took that position and I had to train him.
You're talking about me?
Not pointing fingers. And I remember you said something to me your first week that kind of blew my mind and made me realize.
It's okay. Keep going.
Made me realize that maybe I do have more to give and more worth to, because I was in just like entry level role. And you came in and you're like, why did you not get this position? You're training me to do this job. So obviously you've been doing it. And I think I had this moment and I was like, okay, why did I not? Like, I am enough. Obviously this guy's telling me, hey, you're training me how to do the job. Obviously you know it. So instead of me feeling defeated, it was just more motivation. And yes, every position I've ever interviewed for, I got passed over the first time, except for the FSA position. And that's where I was just the advisor, building my book. But in that role, I get to lean on what I'm best at. And that's building relationships with people, caring about people, listening to what they're saying. It wasn't about me selling a stock or a bond. I knew nothing about stock or bonds.
Yeah.
The first stock I ever bought was because Jeff McIver says, you need to go open your own self-directed account and buy something. And I bought freaking GM. I'm like, why? But I knew nothing about that. So I was scared to death. And at the time, I was the second female that we had hired on the team. Rita, and you were hired right before me, and Rita was the first female on our team. So that was even more scary. But she came in and she was, baller at it. And so that kind of gave me motivation. It's just, there's this thing called imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard of it?
No, tell me about it.
So it is this mental state where you never think you're enough. You walk into a room, even though your title says that you deserve to be there, your donation to charity says you deserve to be there, your family says you deserve to be there, there's something in you that just makes you feel like you're not enough. So you're not good enough to be in this room full of executives. You're not good enough to be at that table of board members for that charity. You're not good enough to be in your mom's living room having Thanksgiving dinner with everybody else. It's just some sort of imposter syndrome. So we're faking ourselves out, basically. I am like the queen of imposter syndrome. So I always question, why did I get that invite? Why did I get that award? Why are they asking me to help with this? And when you said that to me back in the day, I was like, okay, maybe I am enough. And so it was just more motivation. And I just kept trying. So I had my 2-year rule after that point. And when I got close to that wiggle in my pants where I'm like, I got to get out of this somehow, I would find my next challenge. So I try to skip 2 levels at a time. I've had to slow down now that I'm a little higher up, but there's so many different things out there for me. And I never thought I would be here. I have a biology degree, but I love people and I love connecting with them. And that's whether they're my clients or my coworkers or my associates or whatever network it is, because everybody brings something to the table. And that's what I lean on. And I've been apologetically authentic to myself.
Good.
Because I don't want someone to interview me for something and I'm all very, me, like I'm not a branded person. I'm not very professional and like put together all the time. I giggle, I laugh, I'm bubbly, I crack jokes, sometimes weird jokes, but That's just me.
Yeah.
So in my interviews, I'm myself, and I don't apologize about it, because if someone's going to hire me, I want you to hire me. I don't want you to hire the prim and polished Maegan. I want you to hire me.
You for being just
Exactly.
you, authentically
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. I had an interview once, and I had 3 panelists, and I got feedback that said she's not branded enough. She needs more time. She's too green. She needs to be polished. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't want to be a polished leader. I want to be a leader that the door is always open. I want to be a leader that every time I walk in your office, my first question is, how are you doing? How's your morning?
Yeah.
How's the wife? How's the kids? I love collecting all those little facts. And if you looked at my phone right now, my contact list, everybody has a note about them. I know their birthday. I know their kids' names. I know their wives' names, their husbands' names. I know what kind of boba tea I'm supposed to get. So it's just like things like that. I love collecting those little things because I love to make people smile. And I'm like, I don't have to be prim and proper and polished to make people smile. And that's me. That's Maegan.
Well, but there's a beauty behind that because, again, you're bringing yourself to the table for who you are, not for who you're expected to be, right? Because I think once, and we were talking about that with Jeff, when you get to that executive level of, just being up there, you happen to start being told how you have to be and how you have to behave because
cookie cutter.
Correct. Because the firm, just any corporation, I think, wants to make sure that they set an expectation for the leaders that they have or that they've hired or that they've trained and groomed and whatever. So it does take a little bit away of that human side of you want to be bubbly, you want to be just yourself, and you are that type of caring person. I've known that for a fact since I've met you. It's hard to ask somebody, don't be that way, or to listen to that, even though it's feedback, right? You try to take constructive criticism, but it's hard to just like, oh, she's not branded enough, or she's not well, what's the expectation, right? Yeah. The other side to it is caring. You care so much about the individual in a genuine, authentic way. That is you.
Yep.
That is you at your finest. And it's just every single time that we've been a part of a team, or when we used to work together, or even when we weren't, you were always there caring for everybody, like remembering their birthday, sending emails, small things that mean just
that's what it is. The
value behind it. So having a boss, and again, touching on the same thing with Jeff, having a boss that has a personality of their own, that is in a caring fashion, asking people how they are doing today, asking about their family, or, not so much to make small talk, but to genuinely listen to where they're coming from that day, because you don't know if that person has a bad day that day.
100%.
And they might be able to open up to you, and you might be able to advise them in the, whatever you feel that, just helping them out, right?
Yeah.
And so listening to them versus going in with an agenda, because you can touch on your agenda, right? And I think you can mix it all together. But unfortunately, that's been lost in transition. So I'm glad that there is somebody like yourself, like Jeff, that you guys are caring people and care for your associates, your employees, and just, I'm sure in the end that produces way more production, like just overall for you. In the
Maybe
long
not
term,
all the time.
in the long term, right? Versus just driving by fear, because I think if you drive a specific group by fear, we talked about
100%.
it. It's very short term. You fatigue people. You kind of tend to run them out. Instead of having them see the value behind the person that's really leading them into success.
Yeah. I always tell people I lead with the carrot instead of the whip, because it's just not my personality. When I came in and when I got hired, everyone, no joke, everyone, except for a couple people were like, oh my gosh, you got the job. Like, I can't believe you got it. You're so nice. And I'm like, I started thinking about it, and I was like, nice is just, honestly, it's a boring word. Nice is just you're middle of the pack. You're nice. You're not terrible. You're not great. You're just nice. And I was like, is nice my brand? Like, do I want people to think of Maegan and be like, oh, she's nice? No, I don't. So I'm like, how do I change that? So selfishly, me investing in people is me investing in myself. Because that person, I don't know, they might be my boss in another line of business one day. They might be my associate in a different line of business or a different bank one day. They might, go start their own media company and ask me to be on a podcast one day. So it's, to me, selfishly, I love it. It's natural to me. It's that God's gift that he gave me. So I invest in that to make that imposter syndrome a little less in my head. He's still there. He's still telling me, oh, Maegan, you're not good enough. These people are looking at you and like, why is she even here? I can do investing better than her. I can talk to her room better than her. Why is she here? But me knowing my strengths and leaning into it, that makes that imposter syndrome just a little smaller.
That's great. I mean, it's growth. It's just growth mentality, because if you have that mindset, then as long as you're aware of it and you can reflect on that, then it's going to allow you to grow and make sure that that doesn't become an issue in the future. Little by little, you start diminishing that issue for yourself.
Yeah.
By the way, just so you know, obviously, I'm sure you know, but when I mentioned that to you about like how come you didn't get this job, it came from a good place. Like, it was,
100%.
I was baffled by the person training me for the new role, which my role was the assistant manager, was not the assistant manager that was there at the branch at that time. It was the person, like an associate below that, which was like, just a
3
banker.
levels down.
Right. You're right. It was just like you were like a teller. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
A teller who knew. And that's why I was so baffled, because I'm like, I can't believe that somebody who's covering as a teller and doing a few things as a banker, like kind of like a hybrid role, is training me how to be the assistant and how, like, just how to manage the branch, obviously if the branch manager's not around, or just do my own thing. And that's why I was like, wow, I can't believe she's training me. How come you didn't get the job? Or but I'm glad that you've now see yourself in a better light. Because it's hard to come from a place where you have to, I have the same thing. I sometimes don't think of myself so highly, and I rely on people's feedback and stuff like that to try and like cheer me up. And I'm getting out of that mentality where I believe in myself. Whatever work I like, whatever I like now with video, right? I create something and I put it out there. I'm trying to put more things out there, because now I feel that the more I put out there, the next project is just going to continue to be better. Instead of me holding on to them because I think they're not good enough. Right? It's just getting out of that, like that mindset of, just be better, put it out there. Don't let necessarily like bad comments or good comments drive you, but let yourself drive, that motivation that you have, just continue to drive yourself.
I mean, it's an art. And I think
it is,
any job, even if it's not creative, is an art. There's an art to it. There's a choreography you have to have. And I think there's a very fine line between confidence and cockiness, but you have to be confidently humble. That's one of the things my mama always taught me. She's like, you have to know that you're worth it, but you have to be humble about it. So confidently humble is my brand that I want to have.
I like that.
And that's what I try to bring to the table, because now I know I'm worth it. Now I know I deserve, a seat at that table. And it's on me to prove it to them. And if they don't like it, that's okay, because I was unapologetically authentic to myself. And I can go home at the end of the day and be like, okay, it just wasn't time. But I remember the times that I did miss out on the opportunities, and especially coming from Tennessee to California. Like, in Tennessee, everyone thinks Californians are like movie stars or millionaires. Everybody lives on the beach. I still go home. I just lost my great uncle a couple weeks ago, but every time, he was a good man, but every time I go home, he's like, what movie are you in? What commercial are you in? And I'm like, Uncle Raymond, I'm not a movie star. Like, I'm not an actress, but that's the mentality back there in some parts of the state. So when I moved out here, my bubble was popped.
Expectations versus reality.
100%. Totally different. I felt like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. I just got dropped in this la la land, and I was like, okay, I can't say ma'am to people because they give me the middle finger. I can't just be nice because then you look fake. And I had to realize like who I was. And I'll give credit to my parents. Like, when I was going to college, they told me, you cannot go in state. We know that's going to be more tuition. That's on you to get an academic or athletic scholarship, but you have to go at least 2 hours away. But I started to find myself at a young age. It's taken some time, but it's like I was forced to. I couldn't run home to mom and dad and be like, oh, I ran out of gas money, or, oh, this boy broke my heart. It's like I had to deal with adult things at the age of 18.
Yeah, so start growing up, basically.
But slowly but surely, I didn't go home every weekend. I stayed at school, or I created my network, and I learned like, hey, Maegan, you're really great at making friends, and like true, genuine friendships. So it's just caring about people has kind of gotten me here. So
I think, so now you're talking about networking, and
your favorite topic.
Because that's something that you like, as you've heard, I continue to try to, just change that. Matter of fact, I'm super kind of little antsy. I'm going to a networking event, a workshop this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be, something that I've been wanting to do, and
get the tux out.
No tux. No tux. It's
You're
just
gonna wear your
super
Crocs?
casual. So I'm gonna wear my Crocs. Yes. But it's just part of putting myself out there. But what I want to touch on for you is you, again, you do it so well. So you network and you meet people, and you're not afraid of meeting people. I think you're very you're an extrovert, which is great. But the other part is you, again, caringly enough, you give back to the community.
Yeah.
You've been a part of so many different, just what is it, foundations or organizations or
Philanthropic causes, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, that you just give back and you put in the time. I just don't manage to understand how you're able to balance everything, because it does take a lot of time, just to go out there and just give your time to the community and for a good cause. So can we talk a little bit about that? Because I really want to highlight that for you. I think you do such an amazing job at it. Just giving back and caring, just for others, people that you don't even know.
I mean, I don't even have a really good answer. It makes my heart happy. Honestly, you said that you like that I go into my associate's office and ask them how their day's going. But also it's I could have had a car accident that morning and I was in the worst mood and I just needed to talk to one person that wasn't having a bad day, and it made me happy.
Yeah.
Because I feed off of other people. So I think, to answer your question, it just makes me happy. It makes me feel fulfilled. And everybody says oh, how do you do all this, Maegan? You're a single mom. You do baked goods. You do, philanthropy, and you work full time, actually 80 hours a week. How do you do it? And you make time for what you love.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably put in a ton of hours, but it's the stuff you love.
Yeah, of course.
So it's you're probably editing a movie or video or whatever at 1 a.m, but it doesn't feel like that to you. And it's a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
So a smile on somebody's face is my accomplishment, honestly.
No, that's super nice. It's
And
the
it
way that
sounds
you
cheesy.
no, but is the way you get fulfilled.
Yes,
helping others
100%.
is just because I'm telling you, there's people that have it in their hearts just genuinely to do it. I remember when I was a part of the of the bank. I used to go to these events, but it was more,
I think I forced you to one.
I think you did force me to one. And don't get me wrong, when I was there, I did feel very fulfilled and very happy to help others. But it wasn't just out of nowhere that, oh yeah, let me go and give my Saturday or my Sunday to, to this good cause.
Yeah.
It was more if it came up or something. I think most people do it that way. And there's that select few that just do it because they really care and they really want to help others. And I'm not saying I don't want to help others, right? But it's just you generally
You just don't want to log your hours.
No, it's just a natural reaction for you, I think, right? It almost feels that way.
I think so. And I also think that on paper, I may look really great. Over the phone, I don't even want to know what my voice is going to sound like on this podcast, but I might sound super there's this saying about Ole Miss girls, they're pretty, but you can pull the sheep's wools over their eyes. So basically they're pretty, but they're dumb. And women are taught in the South, you sit there and look pretty. You spoke when you speak when you're spoken to. So I think, and my mama never raised me that way, thank God, but I think that's just where I came from. So you couldn't speak, but you had your actions. And I chose acts of kindness. And that's just how I was brought up.
Yeah.
So I love to bake. I thought I was going to have a bakery one day. That was my dream job. May still have one in the future. I've already got a name and a logo, but recipes are on lock, all that stuff. But I think that was just my way of how it all started. Because I bake for a freaking militia, and it's 2 people in my house. I can't feed 2 people 5,000 brownies.
Yeah.
So I give them away. But bringing that smile to somebody's face that oh, someone took time out of their day to give 2 shits about me. It feels pretty awesome, even if you're having the worst day. And I just hope that I get that back in some, I'm not expecting it. It's not hey, tit for tat, but I hope if I put that out in the world that it's going to come back to me, or even Grayson one day. If someone is nice enough to do something sweet for him one day, that is all the payment I need.
Yeah. And it definitely comes back. Karma, definitely has a way to come back in good ways.
Yeah, but karma's got a different name. So.
No, yeah, that too. But
so, yeah.
Would you be able to share how you got started? I know you do it from the bottom of your heart, you do it, but how did you get started? For somebody who is also trying to, just go out there and care for their community, or just give back to to people. how did you get started with all this philanthropies that you do?
Yeah.
And are you able to share maybe some of the
Causes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I will say I did not do a lot of this until I moved to California. In college, I had different priorities. I was painting, huge flags for the front of our sorority house for football games and going to the Grove and, tailgating and all that. But when I moved to California, I had no family out here at all. It was just me and my boyfriend at the time. And I still worked in the retail job I had all through my senior year of high school, all through college, and kind of never really thought of a career for myself because I was like, again, from the South, barefoot and pregnant. Like, I should rely on my husband to provide all these things. And California is a different place. I know it's still in the United States, but it is a different way. And I remember my manager at the retail store I was working at, she was 44, never been married, had no kids, drop dead gorgeous, filthy rich. Like, she loved it. And she had a successful boyfriend and it was acceptable.
Yeah.
And for the first time, that's why I said Dorothy. Like, I literally felt like I got dropped in the Wizard of Oz world.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, women can have a voice. Women can be sassy. Women can be whatever they want to be. And I was like, okay, that's where that imposter syndrome was, just hawking at me the whole time. And I slowly started to realize the importance of having some sort of independence. And my mom taught me that too, but it just didn't hit me until that age. And because I was out here with no one, the way that I made friends outside of work was through these volunteering events. And you see them on billboards, you see them in the newspaper, you see them online, you see them in your Instagram feed. Like, they're everywhere. It's just people choose to swipe by it. They choose not to read that page that has the pink breast cancer awareness month symbol on there. But those charities and those nonprofits and those companies that give back, those are the ones that need the most attention, in my opinion. I'm very, very appreciative that the firm I work with now, they are so great to our community. And this year I actually got asked to be the community volunteer lead for the whole greater San Diego. So I get to just shower these things everywhere and be like, okay, can you pack up a box of shoes and send it to some homeless person that has no shoes for that job interview? Yeah. Can you clean out your closet and go donate your clothes to Goodwill? Can you take a Saturday with your family and go walk at a awareness event? So that's part of my job now. And I love it. It's my favorite part of my job other than my associates. Those are my two things that I roll out of bed for, except for my son. Didn't mean to roll my eyes, but it's that those kind of outlets gave me my validation as a human being. It made my heart bigger. I feel like the Grinch every time I do one, it's my heart grows 2 sizes. But it also gave me a family kind of.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I met a lot of my long-term friends. A lot of the people that I would say my best friend, my sister today, met her through one of those things. And I also meet a lot of people that go to different worlds or just different countries, different lines of businesses, different businesses. And then they call me and they're like, hey, Maegan, we knew that you love doing this stuff. Would you mind us collaborating with this? And for me, that's the biggest compliment. You call me and you say, you did something so great last time. I want you to do again. I'm like, yes, please, hands down all day long. Yeah. So it gave me people around me and I threw myself into it and I love it too. So it was an easy fix for me when I didn't have any family out here at all.
And it makes sense. I mean, you look for it, I know you're caring, but it gave you that, again, that family that you're looking, especially, moving out of state and not having anywhere. I'm sure that's rough. And then at the same time, I mean, it allows you to do something you love. And then you continue to grow in your circle of influence because
that's the word.
Yeah, because
it is a circle of influence.
It is. It absolutely is a circle of influence because it allows you to continue to expand that and network and meet new people. And, you never, like you were saying, you never know when you're going to meet or you're going to work either closely together or collaborate with these people later down the line or even get business out of them, right? I mean, because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. but it expands that world for you.
100%.
Yeah, but it's great to hear that it allows you to, or it gives you specifically, it allows you to do what you love.
Yes.
Because it's hard to find that balance in life sometimes. And I think I've mentioned this in a different episode too. There's nothing wrong with a corporate job.
Yeah.
If you know that that's what you love, because sometimes it can be a little bit tough to be working. Some people don't have a choice. I get it, but working that 9 to 5 and not doing what you love, it can make it a little bit tougher on you, or it can
100%.
consistently, you continue to hate where you go and what you do. And it's not the case for everybody, right? But what I'm saying is to be in a corporate position at your level and do something you love, it's just, it's fantastic.
And I think a big thing for me is I went to work every day, even though, like I said, I never thought I would be in finance. My biology degree did not support that at all. But I came to work every day for my boss. Like, I genuinely cared for every boss I had. And maybe my 2-year rule kind of, if I go back and look at it, like, it probably coincides with every time my boss moved up. I was like, I'm ready for my new challenge, because I was coming to work to make them proud, to show them my respect for what they were doing. I remember having bad bosses before, and I was just like, I hated going to work, even if it was something I loved. Like, my friends worked there, whatever. I hated going to work because I had to interface with that person. So for me, finance is not my first love. It's not my second love. But I love people.
Yeah.
And I want those people that do feel like that. It's a 9 to 5. I have to come in, clock out. I want them to wake up and be like, I don't want to let Maegan down.
Yeah.
I want to be there for her. She's there for me. She supports me. She cares about me. Like, just reciprocate it, even in the tiniest bit, because that makes it easier in a corporate job.
Yeah.
But I do surround my other time with the stuff that I love.
Yeah. And like I said, nothing is perfect, but you find that balance that you're talking about right now, maybe finance is not the number one option, but it allows you to connect with people, which is what you love. And it gives you some things like, again, working with Philanthropist, and caring for your associates, people that, now that you're leading now.
Yeah.
So it gives you a little bit back, right? In that regard, so that you can continue, again, loving what you do and the way you do it. Now, if we have to talk about a roadmap, I always ask or try to ask people, if you had a roadmap let's talk about women, right?
Okay.
For a woman who wants to succeed and wants to move up the corporate ladder, but again, having the adversities that you've faced, and knowing the things that specifically working at an executive level for, a financial firm, and it doesn't have to apply for finance. I'm sure it applies just overall.
Yeah.
What are some of the steps? Like, if you had to talk to yourself, your younger version, what are some of the things that you would tell yourself to try and make sure that you have that path to success, like, really mapped out, to try and, get there either faster or at the same rate, or just advice that you would give somebody else?
I don't know if you'll like my answer.
No, I mean, be honest.
I would probably tell her that roadmap you just made, you need to crinkle it up and throw it in the trash can, light it on fire, because it's not going to happen the way that you think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to be your biggest cheerleader. And that's something I'm still learning to this day. Like, I will be everybody else's cheerleader all day long, and I will pull it out of you and force you in the limelight, even if you don't want it, because I think that's what's best for you. But it's so hard for me to do that for myself. But that's part of that imposter syndrome. So what I would tell her is, there's this test I took. You can take personality tests and all that. It's called Clifton Strengths Finder. And it's for leadership, but I think it really is for life, to be honest. And it gives you your top 5 strengths and your top 5 weaknesses. And that book taught me your weaknesses are not something you're supposed to overcome. Embrace them. Find the people that have your weakness as their strength, and you do things with them. You collaborate with them. I could never do a podcast, but you can. I could never film a pride parade for, our philanthropy in June and November and all that stuff, but I know somebody that can. So it's like, you find what you're really good at and you lean into those and you accept them and you love those parts about you. None of my leadership qualities said, demands respect or accountable or anything like that. I was a collector of facts. I'm a relationship builder. I'm a rapport builder. Like, those were my strengths. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't look like a CEO of whatever company, but that's what I am innately good at. I'm just going to embrace it and run with it. So just be yourself.
Yeah.
And let it go how it goes, but hold yourself accountable. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. And I think that is, it's not a roadmap, but it's a good like life kind of motto to go by, because I've had a lot of things thrown at me that I think I cannot handle at all. And imposter syndrome tells me this is what you deserve. Like, this is what you get. Karma's a bitch.
Yeah.
Sorry. Even though I've done everything right, I feel like in my head, I followed this roadmap I made when I was 18 years old. And my life is nothing like that now.
You feel that it's like almost, it's taking control basically. And
of how you react to it.
Yeah. Because, variables are going to be thrown at you throughout life. And that's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
I guess that's life itself.
Yeah.
You never know. It's never going to be perfect. There are going to be cheerful moments or moments that are better than other ones. But how do you react to those moments that maybe you weren't expecting, the unexpected?
That's the only thing you can control.
I like that. Yeah. It seems to me though that even if you were to tell yourself, I know you. Even if you were to tell yourself, throw that roadmap away, you would probably just create.
I still have it in my house. Like, it's laminated in a 3-ring binder. Like, it's there. It's like, for girls, or at least for me, it's like you plan out your wedding to the detail. You plan out the perfect like characteristics of the man you want to marry. And I did all those things on my roadmap, and my life is completely different than what I thought I would be at the age of 35. I love my life. Don't get me wrong. I have the best son. I have an amazing career. I get to connect with people that I care about, and then find new people, and I'm just on this journey now where I just love to be exposed to different things, cuisines, cultures, everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have had that on my roadmap from 18-year-old Maegan. I know it's not on there.
Well, we grow, we advance,
100%.
our mentality changes, and I think we try new things, and we're more, we just like to open up our arms more to those experiences versus, before we would be a little bit more cautious with
100%.
what we wanted to do. So you mentioned something in regards to your weaknesses, embracing them.
Yes.
And you were mentioning, so it's really more, again, the way I'm connecting it, because I've learned about it in that perspective, is having weaknesses is not a bad thing.
It's not.
It's not. But
it's what makes you beautiful.
But we're told that they are.
Yes.
Any interview they want to put,
that way.
people always even ask you, what are your strengths? Give me your weaknesses.
Yep.
And so you have to think of yourself. I remember having to think about this. How do I provide my weaknesses in a way that they're not going to make me look extremely bad?
You try to overcome your weaknesses, but then you leave your strengths on the back burner. So you're not bringing your whole self.
But I think what I got from you when you were explaining how to embrace the weaknesses is you have to surround yourself with people that can, for you, that maybe those weaknesses for them are strengths, because then and again, I think there's power in numbers.
Yes.
Right. Especially in a team setting, or, just anything in life. Right. But having those people to rely on, or knowing the right person by networking and like all these things that you can kind of rely back and say, hey, maybe that's not my forte, but it is yours. So let's do this together. Or can I hire you? Or can we do this together, collaborate, whatever. That's a good way to look at that, like that weakness that you have. Because weaknesses just makes it so demeaning.
Yeah, it's a negative connotation.
It's a negative connotation, but in reality, it's not that it's a weakness. It's just, some people are better at some things than others, right? So
you could still be really strong at your top 5 weaknesses, but you're stronger at your other things.
Correct.
So why not fuel the fire you already have versus trying to spark a fire from nothing?
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, I've got to embrace Maegan and, again, unapologetically be myself and authentic. And that's what I leaned into.
But it's eye-opening when you think about it that way, because not a lot of people, and again, I didn't realize this till like later down the line. Nobody teaches you this like right at the beginning when you're starting in a corporate career. A lot of things you won't even learn in college. Reality is experience. Or life. Experience is really what's going to bring you up to that level sometimes. And I think that's really where it's all at, right? Just learning through experience and getting that real exposure to, again, we talked about expectations and reality. And those things sometimes don't mix too well, because the expectations are either way out of hand, and don't even meet close to what reality might be. So then you land into this gap of disappointment.
Yep.
So it's pretty crazy how all that works. But I'm glad that you found that and that you know that and that you continue to grow and that you have that going for you.
Trying to, yeah. I mean, there's always their self-doubt, and I go back to what I started the show on, where like everybody describes me as nice, and I realize like I don't want to just be nice. You've got to find what you love about yourself and just broadcast it.
Yeah.
And find a little bit of beautiful in every day. And recently that's been very hard for me, but I catch myself where I'm like, I'm just having a crap day and I just need Grayson to smile at me. And I'm like, you know what? This day was worth it.
Yeah.
I'm alive for a reason. This day is worth it. So
Yeah.
just finding a bit of beautiful in every single day. That's all that I would tell myself back then. And don't take things so personally. That's what I would tell my 18-year-old self.
Yeah.
The world does not revolve around you. It might feel like your world is coming to an end, but there's so much more beautiful things out there. And philanthropy was one of those things that just, it always makes me smile.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been to 2 Pride Parades with me now as our media,
Yeah.
person. And it's just the air, the people, the ambiance, it's just love. And there's no judgment. And I
Yeah.
come from a very red state where, that's not normally accepted. And that was one of the big things when I moved to California. My bubble just burst. But people are people. Everybody has a heart. Everybody wants to be cared about. They want to know that they're important to someone, even if it's just while you're paying a bill, at dinner.
Yeah.
Saying thank you. Just anything like that. That's just find the beautiful in that day.
Yeah. No, that's lovely. Really, it is.
Thanks. That was my beauty pageant answer.
So now, just to kind of wrap it up for you, what do you think? I think and I mentioned this to a lot of people. They see it differently. So
Okay.
don't let what is it called? Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Take over. But I feel that you're in a successful spot. Like you've come such a long way. I remember when we first started working, quite a few years ago. I didn't know what to expect with you.
Yeah.
But you've grown so much into like the person that you are now. And I'm so happy for you because you're in this position that you really have earned, that you deserve, and that you continue to grow. So what do you see yourself doing over the next couple of years, 5 years, whatever, in the long term or short term?
For me professionally, I know I'm ready for that next step in my career. So I'm actually interviewing and have a couple things in play.
Good for you.
For move up. I'm not a big fan for some reason of the lateral moves. I don't know why. I've never thought of it that way.
Well, it's better if you don't.
Well, I mean, I see how it's a good thing.
It can be a good thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing. The way I see it now, at the time I thought it was a good thing.
Yeah.
The way I see it now is just complacency setting in.
But you're still learning a different thing.
You continue to learn.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to take that away from you.
Yeah.
But you're not learning at the next level, which,
Yeah.
it's like you can also, kind of going back to what we were saying, right? You can become a master at what you are now,
Yeah.
right? Without knowing 100% everything. As long as you have the right team and the right people that have the capabilities to run a specific...
Your circle of influence.
There you go. So there's no need for you to 100% learn everything.
Yeah.
You learn what you need and what's going to set you up for the next step, right? So that you can start learning at that next level and continue your career or your move up. So laterally moving, I think sometimes it's okay if it's the right option to allow you to move up. I don't think it's okay to just stay in one place.
Yeah.
Because again, you become complacent. It becomes repetitive for some people. Fatigue can set in again. So that's kind of like my case. Now, the exception is the people that love what they do, have landed.
Keep dropping this L word.
I mean, but that's what it's all about. If you love what you do, right, and you don't necessarily want to move up, and you want to stay where you're
like
at,
a destination.
like a destination role.
I gotcha.
Then that's fine.
Yeah.
Then you've made it, and that's good for you. Stay there, love it.
Yeah.
The L word again, but just love it, enjoy it, and go with that process because that's what's gonna work for that specific individual. So would I move laterally again? Not necessarily. I would probably do a different way. Just to see what comes out of it. But I'm obviously the person I am because of all the moves that I've done, the decisions I've made along my career, and I'm okay with that and I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
But if I had to go back,
your
tell
18 years
tell
old.
myself something again. It's like, don't stay stuck in that process, because then what happens is me talking from experience is you start becoming better with what you have.
100%.
Because then you start looking at all the negatives.
But that happens in anything.
And
Professionally, in relationships, friendships, family ships, whatever you want to say it.
Absolutely. So instead of passing the blame for something that you can control, do something about it.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
that would be.
And I think I had different, like, I'm not some old biddy, but like I've had different phases of my life. And so 18-year-old Maegan had different priorities.
Yeah.
It was go to pharmacy school and, be a pharmacist one day and graduate in 4 years and all these things. Like, I had my head on straight, quote unquote, straight of what I was supposed to do. And then life throws, a curveball at you. And again, I can't control what happens to me all the time, but I can control how I react to it.
Absolutely.
And so my first big event in my life where I was very, very lucky. I had all of my relatives living up to that point, and I lost my grandfather, and it was traumatic for me. It was the first time I had experienced loss. It was the first time I couldn't have a smile on my face. And it made me rethink life. And I'm like, do I really want to go to pharmacy school?
Yeah.
And be $100,000 in debt and never get to interact with people except for what milligrams and dosages you need to have. I'm like, no, this isn't what I want to do. It's not. But I was already 4 years in. So I got my biology degree and I started my new path, my new roadmap. And that one didn't work out. And then I have another roadmap now, which, if I'm being honest with you, like, it's fueled by how much money can I make? Yeah. And I think that's why I have that vertical mentality, because I am a single mom and I have a son that I want to give everything to. And if I knew at 18 the money that I'm making now, just from me being myself, the world is my oyster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I can only go up from here.
Yeah.
But I have to be confidently humble in myself too, that sometimes God does shut doors in my face because it's just not the right time for me.
Absolutely. I think I have this strong belief that we want things, right? But we don't deserve to get them at the, until we're ready. Until we're ready.
You're just not
and
ready.
Sometimes that takes patience and understanding. And as you grow older, I think you understand that concept a little bit more. I know I do. I'm not as impatient as I used to be when I was younger.
Oh, wow.
About it. No, I know. Yeah. Patience is not one of my virtues, but
I wasn't saying that.
No, it's just, but now I understand that concept a lot more. So I don't, again, I do have expectations, but if they don't happen for whatever reason, when I want them to happen, right? Because want and need is two different things.
True.
Then I understand that, and I just kind of follow my path. This doesn't, I continue grinding and going through it, and at some point, I expect that it's going to happen when I'm ready to either get to that level or receive those news or anything that whatever it may pertain to. So
I know I've sounded bitter over the years because I always told you, like, you always got the job before me and I rode your coattails. But if I'm honest with myself, it was because I wanted what you were going after. So it's funny for me to hear you say you were impatient, because I don't feel like you were at all.
Well, I mean, I don't think we ever.
You moved up quicker than I did.
I don't think we ever sat down to talk about it that way. But again, everybody has different expectations.
Yeah.
I know that I did decent, I think, for moving up to a certain point, and I just didn't want to. It didn't fuel me anymore.
Well, yeah. And you figured out that wasn't for you.
It wasn't for me at that point anymore. But like I said, it's just that understanding. I think if you're mentally able to receive that concept of understanding that, keep doing what you're doing, keep working hard.
Yeah.
And if things don't happen when you want them to happen, that's okay.
Yeah.
But do not stop. Keep going. And when you're ready and when life is just ready to give you what you've been expecting, it'll happen by itself. So it's better to not force it, but organically allow that to grow.
Yeah. So. I'm learning that. I still get, like, I remember the job I went for before the one I have now. I interviewed for it. It was amazing. There was a last minute candidate. He called me and he's like, hey, how'd your interview go? And I coached him through the whole thing, and I didn't realize what I was doing. Yeah. Told him all the interview questions, help him do a mock interview, and he got the job over me. And I was bitter, so bitter. But I knew the job that I have now was the one I wanted regardless. Yeah. I just was getting complacent and I needed a stepping stone. And I thought the role I had now was just 2 years off. And I was like, I can't do 4 years in the role I'm in now. Like, I'm killing it already. I'm ready for the next challenge. And I wanted that carrot. And so I was like, I'll just, do a lateral move and then go back over.
Yeah.
And this guy got it. And I was so upset. And I blamed everyone but myself. And I said, my manager blackballed me. He didn't want me to have it. He didn't give a good recommendation. Whatever it was everybody else's fault. And then I had someone check me one day and he was like, you just sound like bitter. And I was like, I'm not. I just feel like I earned it over that person. And they're like, but it's not the job you want.
Right.
And I was like, damn, he's right. It's not the job I want. And literally the week after, I got the job I have now.
Right.
And if I would have gotten the original offer, they wouldn't have looked at me for at least 12 months. That's our company's policy. So that was very eye-opening for me, that I was like, you know what? There are opportunities. And yes, I put myself out there, because why not have a mock interview? Why not network, meet that person? Because now I work with her, that hiring manager that passed up on me. I work with her pretty closely now. But she knew who I was. So the first time she had a problem, guess who she picked up the phone to call?
Right.
Me. Because she had interviewed me. So even if I'm not going to get the job, I still put my name in the hat. It helps me build my network. It helps me build my confidence, my skills of putting myself out there, and kind of, you have to put yourself on a silver platter. And that helps me hone my craft of presenting myself better too. So I think that is maybe why I've never done the lateral now. I'm just burned from it.
No, but that's perfect. Vertical is great. I mean, if you're going vertical, it's not a bad thing either.
Well, and it goes back to what my daddy taught me. It's like, if you want something done right, and the first time you do it yourself, I feel like if I started from the bottom and I worked my way up, like, who could not have respect for me?
Well, it's also an inspiring story, and then you become a mentor to those people that, again, want to follow in your footsteps, because then you're showing them, just like any other woman that continues to grow in the financial industry, that you continue to lead the way, that you guys do make a difference. Women, I think, are so much smarter in the sense of just, especially with
so
finance. Let's back up there a second. But just in finance overall, I mean, if we really want to talk into just a little bit, Kathy Wood has surprised the world. Kathy Wood, right? No, I'm not thinking of the right.
I don't know who that
the
is.
Portfolio manager, the one that was doing.
It might be. I don't follow investments.
But there's this portfolio manager, I think, named Kathy Wood, that has done phenomenally. She started like really getting a lot of traction during the pandemic, because all of her portfolios, her mutual funds that she built, were just outperforming everything else.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so it just goes to show, and and again, a woman building a portfolio and managing portfolios and doing that and outperforming males is something that really hadn't been done up until that point too much. So she's, again, a pioneer in the industry for that. And I'm sure at the local level, for people that are either working with you or people that that maybe you're supervising, or however you want to see it, they're also looking at you in that perspective, like, wow, if Maegan has made it, then there's hope. I can actually follow in her footsteps. And the great thing is, I know that if anybody was to reach out to you, you would just absolutely help them and give them the advice.
Send the elevator down, especially for women, but people that have, like, I've seen their potential. I think that's important to send the elevator back down, because that's the only reason I'm where I am, because someone has sent the elevator back down for me.
Absolutely.
Or taught me something, or said, oh, she would be great for this, you should call her, or tapped me on the shoulder for that next role. And it's crazy, because right now in Greater San Diego, in the firm that I work in, my regional executive is female. My partner that covers Southern San Diego is female.
Wow.
And 2 of my partners in Inland Empire are female. So there's one guy for every 5 girls we have right now in this San Diego Inland Empire area. But it's because someone made that choice. And I'm not saying that women are better.
No, but
we have strengths. We have our opportunities.
I think having equality is what I think, again, that balance, just making sure that everybody can work together, and, just, again, having that equality is really what I think everything over anything is going to just show that women and males, can just work together without any problems, or, they can move up as fast as a male can.
Oh, yeah, 100%. We can do anything you guys can.
Absolutely.
And we can have a baby. Carry a baby.
That's true.
But no, I think a lot of women in the South especially get put in a box, a little ballerina box, and you're supposed to open that box and look perfect, have your pearls on, lipstick on. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I was that girl out there with my daddy and my brother and my uncles like, oh, if you're going to pull a chainsaw, I'm going to pull a chainsaw. Just because, again, that goes back to if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove to you that I can.
Absolutely.
So there's always these events in my life where someone's doubting me, doesn't give me that position, but instead of getting complacent, it's more fire under me to be like, fine, you didn't take a chance on me. I was the best bet you were ever going to make. Yeah. I could have been the perfect associate, the perfect girlfriend, the perfect wife, the perfect friend, whatever, but you decided to pass up, so I'm going to show you how much better I can do.
Yeah.
As vindictive as that sounds, like that's just my fuel to prove to myself that I am worth it.
Yeah.
It's that imposter syndrome. But yeah.
No, that's cool. But I think that's great. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing everything. I think it's super insightful, just to learn from you. I don't think we ever sat down like this in any type of corporate setting when we work together, but it's nice to listen to you.
You're just writing me up.
No, it's nice to listen to you and to get all this insight that you have now, especially at the level that you're at. And, obviously, sky's the ceiling. You're going to continue to grow. I really do see that in just that vertical.
Ceilings are meant to be broken.
That's right. So
I'm going to continue to do it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing everything.
Of course. Thanks.